What can you report at this stage?
We have a new name for the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has officially called it COVID-19.
Stabbing outside Central Middlesex Hospital here in London.
2 French prison officers were killed and 3 others injured.
The attacks in Kiev, claiming that they are the victims of genocide.
Have you ever wondered why the news is filled with crime and scandals, and why we can't look away? Or why we sometimes feel a strange satisfaction when someone who seemed perfect faces a setback? Are you messed up, or there's a psychological reason behind this? Hey everyone, I'm Milan. Today we'll explore why we are drawn to bad news and others' misfortunes. I mean, I still know a couple of people whose mishaps doesn't really bother me. I'm still human. And why negative media captivate us more than positive stories. We'll dive into the psychology behind this, how our brains react to bad news, and what this means for us today. Plus, we'll discuss why we feel satisfaction when others stumble. Stick around to find out. Studies have shown that our brains are wired to pay more attention to negative information. This phenomenon is known as negativity bias. I've heard about it and I was very curious to find out more. So essentially, our ancestors who were more attuned to potential threats were more likely to survive. This trait still influences us today, almost like a built-in alarm system. If you ignore the rustling in the bushes, you're cooked. You might end up as someone's dinner. Paying attention to negative stimuli was a matter of life and death. Over time, our brains evolved to prioritize negative information because it helped us stay alert to dangers. This negativity bias means that negative events have a more significant impact on our mental state than positive ones. For example, we tend to remember criticism more vividly than compliments and react more strongly to negative news than positive ones. Negative information is processed more thoroughly and stays with us longer, making clickbait headlines effective at grabbing our attention. Just look at the thumbnails and all those shocked faces. During Hurricane Katrina in 2005, the media's intense focus on the devastation, looting, and governmental failures drew massive viewership. This coverage was not only due to the event's inherent newsworthiness, but also because negative news captivates audience more effectively. The extensive and often graphic reporting triggered strong emotional responses, leading to a prolonged public interest and higher ratings for news outlets. Take Winston Churchill during World War II. His speeches often conveyed the grim realities of war, addressing the imminent dangers and hardships. However, Churchill also infused his speeches with hope and resilience, inspiring the public to persevere. This balance between highlighting threats and fostering hope was crucial in maintaining public morale. Churchill's understanding of the human tendency to focus on negative information helped him communicate effectively during the crisis. To put it into perspective, let's look at the study from Ohio State University. They found that people spend significantly more time reading negative news than positive ones, even when both types of stories were available. Our brains are wired to seek out information that could potentially protect us from harm. Bad events have a greater impact on our emotions and behaviors than good ones. Have you ever noticed how programs often lead with negative stories? If it bleeds, it leads isn't just a catchy phrase. It is a strategy based on human psychology. News outlets know that negative stories get more attention, which means higher ratings and more ad revenue. So next time you're scrolling through your news feed and find yourself drawn to negative headlines, you'll know it's not just you. Our brains are collectively wired this way. Consider the media's coverage of climate change. While it is crucial to report on the crisis we face, the constant stream of alarming news can lead to echo anxiety, where individuals can feel overwhelmed and powerless to make a difference. This demonstrates how our brains focus on negative information can have significant psychological impact in today's world. Now let's dive a little deeper. How exactly does our brain process the information differently? When we encounter negative news, our amygdala, which is responsible for emotions, especially fear, lights up. This triggers a cascade of reactions in our body, from increased heart rate to heightened alertness. In contrast, positive news activates the brain's reward centers, but these reactions are typically less intense and short-lived compared to our responses to negative stimuli. When we understand this, we can manage our reactions to constant stream of negative news. Being aware of our negativity bias allows us to constantly seek out positive information and balance our perspectives. But there's another issue that takes advantage of this: doom scrolling. Have you ever found yourself endlessly scrolling through a social media feed, consuming one negative news stories after another? This behavior intensifies our exposure to negative news. Doom scrolling involves continuously consuming negative content on social media and news websites, which can lead to increased anxiety, stress, and even physical health issues like high blood pressure and fatigue. Imagine this: you start your day by checking your phone, and then the first thing you see is a barrage of bad news, disasters, conflicts, scandals. You keep scrolling, hoping to find something positive, but the negative stories just keep popping up. This can set the tone for your entire day, making you feel more anxious and stressed. Studies have shown that doom scrolling can have serious effects on our mental health. When we constantly expose ourselves to negative news, it triggers our stress response, leading to increased level of cortisol, the stress hormone. Over time, this can contribute to chronic stress and anxiety and even depression. But it's not just our mental health that's affected. Prolonged exposure to negative news through doom scrolling can also impact your physical health. High levels of stress can lead to issues like high blood pressure, headaches, and fatigue. It's like our bodies are in constant state of alert, ready to respond to threats that aren't even directly affecting us. So, why do we do it? Why do we keep doom scrolling even though it makes us feel worse? Part of it is, as we talked before, negativity bias. We are drawn to negative information because our brains perceive it as more important. But there's also the addictive nature of social media. Platforms are designed to keep us engaged, showing us content that triggers strong emotional responses, and unfortunately, negative content often does this better than positive one. Understanding this behavior is first step to managing it. By being aware of our tendencies to focus on negative news and the habit of doom scrolling, can start to make conscious choices about media consumption. This means taking breaks from social media, seeking out positive news, and finding ways to balance our perspectives. Have you noticed how often you're drawn to negative stories and negative headlines? Drop a comment below and let me know how you balance your news consumption. But don't lose sight of the good. While the media often focuses on negative stories, it is important to remember that the world isn't as bleak as it might seem. Try to follow positive news and uplifting content. There is still much good in the world, but we need to actively seek it out. It's not about ignoring the negative, but finding a balance to protect our mental well-being and grow positive relationships. Now that we know why we are drawn to negative news, have you ever felt satisfaction when someone else fails? I know I have. Let's uncover the psychology behind this and why it is more common than you think. This strange satisfaction in seeing others fail or get hurt can be attributed to a concept called Schadenfreude, a German term that means taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune. It's more common than we might want to admit. Think about a time when you laughed at a funny video or felt that strange satisfaction when someone who always boasts about their perfect life has a setback. Schadenfreude boosts our self-esteem, especially when we see others as competitors. It is a quick ego boost that reassures us that we are doing okay, even if it is at someone else's expense. It's not just about feeling superior. Schadenfreude also comes from a sense of justice and fairness. For example, if someone who has been dishonest or unfair experiences a setback, we might feel that they got what they deserved. Think about the times you've seen someone who has been cutting corners or acting selfish faces the consequences. It feels satisfying, right? Because it restores a sense of moral balance. This isn't limited to personal interactions. People often experience Schadenfreude in response to public figures or celebrities who fail. When celebrity faces public scrutiny for controversial actions, many people feel a strange satisfaction. Their downfall makes our own struggles feel less significant by comparison. But there's another layer to this. Social comparisons play a big role. When we see someone else stumble, especially if they're in a position we aspire to be in, it can ease our own insecurities. It's like saying to ourselves, if they can fail, then my struggles aren't so bad. We've seen this in pop culture numerous times. Most recently, Kanye West's highly publicized controversies and personal struggles. Many people felt a strange satisfaction seeing his troubles unfold, possibly because it made them feel better about their own lives. It is a classic case of schadenfreude. But let's dive deeper into understanding this feeling. Let's look at the case of Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was once the world's most dominant golfer, admired and idolized by millions. However, his fall from grace due to personal scandals and injuries was widely publicized. Many people, including those who had admired him, took a certain pleasure in seeing his downfall. Why did people feel this way about Tiger Woods? Part of it is the pedestal effect. When we elevate someone to a high status, their fall seems more dramatic. It's almost as we are reminded that even the mighty can fall, which makes our own vulnerabilities feel less severe. This social comparison is a significant driver of schadenfreude. Additionally, there is the narrative of redemption. After his fall, Tiger Woods' journey to reclaim his career was met with mixed reactions. While many celebrated his comeback, others still reveled in his failures. This duality in public perception shows how schadenfreude can persist even when the subject of our envy is trying to improve. Corporations can generate the same feelings. Let's look at the Volkswagen and Emission scandal from 2015. When it was revealed that Volkswagen had manipulated emission tests, the company's reputation plummeted. Many people felt a sense of satisfaction seeing a major corporation face such significant repercussions for unethical behavior. This schadenfreude stemmed from a sense of justice and enjoyment of seeing a powerful entity humbled. However, there is a dark side to it. While schadenfreude might give us a temporary boost, it can have a negative effect on our well-being and relationships. Constantly seeking out the other's misfortunes can lead to a more cynical and less empathetic view of the world. When we get used to seeing others fail as entertaining, it becomes harder to offer genuine support and empathy. Indulging in it can erode trust and increase feelings of social disconnection. When we revel in others' misfortunes, we are less likely to support and empathize with them. It creates an environment where people are more focused on others' failures rather than their success, which can be very toxic. I think we all experienced a bit of a schadenfreude. Share your experiences in the comments. How did it make you feel? And how did you handle those feelings? Let's look at the Pepsi Jenner ad from 2017. The ad was heavily criticized for trivializing social justice movements, leading to a significant backlash and becoming a viral topic on social media. This public reaction wasn't just about ad itself, but also about how it handles sensitive issues. This controversy sparked debates and discussions, drawing even more attention to negative media. Or let's consider Fire Festival disaster. Promoted as a luxury music festival, it turned out to be a catastrophic failure.
Some people are mad over here, so I'm gonna... Basically, these are disaster relief tents. I talked to a girl who had taken a shower, and she said that the water was yellow, so...
With inadequate accommodations and poor planning, the event's failure captured public attention and dominated media discussions. This event became a media sensation, with documentaries and countless articles dissecting what went wrong. The fascination with the failure was so intense that it overshadowed many positive stories at the time. Let's not forget the Juul and vaping epidemic from 2019. Juul faced intense scrutiny for its role in the teenage vaping crisis, leading to lawsuits and regulatory crackdowns. The relentless negative coverage highlighted health risks and companies' marketing tactics, driving public discourse and significant changes. Another great example is a GameStop stock surge from 2021. Driven by Reddit's Wall Street Bets community, The event highlighted issues of market manipulation and the power of social media in influencing financial markets. Drama and intrigue of this story captivated the public, demonstrating how negative and sensational news can dominate headlines and conversations. These examples illustrate how negative media draws viewers by evoking strong emotional reactions. Think about your social media feed. How often do you see shocking or negative headlines compared to positive, uplifting stories? Platforms like Facebook and Twitter are built to maximize engagement, and they do this by showing us content that triggers strong emotional responses. Social media algorithms keep us engaged by pushing negative and sensational content. A study by MIT found that fake news spread 6 times faster on social media than true stories, often because these false stories are negative or shocking. Algorithms prioritize content that generates strong reactions, keeping us hooked on a cycle of negative news. Anderson Cooper once shared an interesting observation from his career. Even before the internet was in full swing, he noticed that stories about disasters, scandals, and conflicts always drew more viewers compared to positive stories. Despite his effort to highlight uplifting news, audience engagement was consistently higher with negative content. This reflects our own inherent draw towards negativity and why news outlets push these stories. Take the viral incident involving United Airlines from 2017. A video of a passenger being forcibly removed from an overbooked flight quickly went viral, sparking outrage and widespread media coverage. The incident highlighted how quickly negative news can spread on social media, drawing public attention and creating a cycle of negative content that keeps audiences engaged. Also, the Facebook Analytica scandal from 2018. When it was revealed that the data of millions of Facebook users had been harvested without their consent to influence political outcomes, the story dominated headlines and social media. The scandal highlighted issues of data privacy and showed how negative news, especially involving big tech companies, can capture public attention and create a massive media storm. Fear, anger, and outrage are powerful motivators for sharing content. When we see something that makes us feel angry or scared, we feel compelled to share it with others as a form of warning or solidarity. The controversial CNN town hall featuring Donald Trump is a prime example of how negative media draws viewers. Despite significant backlash and criticism, the event drew high ratings. The public's fascination with Trump's provocative statements and controversial behaviors demonstrated the powerful draw of negative and sensational content. What's interesting, this isn't just a problem for news consumers. Journalism and content creators are also influenced by this cycle. They know that negative stories get more clicks, so there's an incentive to produce more of them, even if it means focusing less on positive or more important stories. But what about the impact on us as individuals? Studies show that consuming too much negative news can even lead to symptoms similar to PTSD. Our brains are not equipped to handle this constant barrage of bad news. Imagine living in a state of constant high alert. It's exhausting, right? This exposure can also put us in a state of chronic stress, which can disrupt our daily lives and contribute to mental health issues like anxiety or depression. A powerful example of the effects of chronic stress on physical health can be seen in healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a study published by the American Psychological Association, healthcare professionals exposed to constant news about the pandemic experienced significantly higher levels of stress, anxiety, and burnout. This chronic stress led to physical health issues such as hypertension, sleep disorders, and weakened immune systems. Let's dive deeper into how chronic stress impacts our bodies. For instance, it can weaken the immune system, making us more vulnerable to illness. It can also increase the risk of cardiovascular diseases by consistently raising blood pressure. It is important to be aware of how much negative news we are consuming. Taking regular breaks from news and social media can help reduce stress. Engaging in activities that promote relaxation like exercise, meditation, or hobbies can also counteract the effects of chronic stress. Remember, it's not about ignoring negative news entirely, but finding a balance. Seek out positive stories and content that can uplift you. Create a healthy media diet that includes uplifting and informative content to maintain a balanced perspective. We've seen how negative media keeps us hooked. But what about when someone close to us succeeds? Why does their success sometimes makes us feel like we're falling behind? Let's address something that we all felt, that burning envy when someone close to us succeeds. This ties into the concept of relative deprivation. Essentially, when someone we know does well, it can make us feel like we're falling behind, even if we are doing just fine. Relative deprivation is the feeling that you're worse off compared to others, even if your own situation hasn't changed. It's all about perception. When someone close to us achieves something significant, it can trigger a feelings of envy and not being good enough. Consider the story of Robert Downey Jr. Before becoming one of the Hollywood's highest paid actors, he faced significant personal and professional struggles, including battles with addiction and multiple arrests. Despite these setbacks, he made a remarkable comeback with his role as, of course, Iron Man, inspiring many with his resilience and determination. His story reminds us that everyone faces challenges, and overcoming them is a part of a journey to success. Also, let's look at Elon Musk. His highly publicized ventures and sometimes controversial statements draw immense public attention. Many people seem to derive a sense of satisfaction when his projects face setbacks or when he makes a controversial statement. This public reaction wasn't just about the drama. It was also about the feeling better about our own lives in comparison to his highly scrutinized life. But why do we react this way? Part of it is human nature. We're social creatures who constantly compare ourselves to others. These comparisons can help our own progress and motivate us to improve. But they can also lead to feelings of jealousy and resentment. Also, many social media influencers who often portray perfect lives face public schadenfreude when they encounter controversies or setbacks, especially if they brag with luxury lifestyles but later get exposed for unethical behaviors or financial troubles, often receive a wave of negative reactions from the public. Envy can manifest in subtle ways, like feeling a slight relief when someone you perceive as more successful faces a setback. This isn't about being malicious, it is a defense mechanism to protect our self-esteem. Research showed that people with lower self-esteem are more likely to feel schadenfreude towards high achievers, while those with higher self-esteem tend not to. For instance, we might downplay others' achievements or find faults in their success to make ourselves feel better. This defense mechanism helps us cope with the existential threat posed by others' advantages. It is important to recognize that feeling envious doesn't make us bad people. It is part of a human nature, but how we handle it makes all the difference. After all, envy blinds us to the bigger picture. It makes us focus on what we lack rather than what can we improve on. By shifting our perspective and appreciating our own journey, we can mitigate the negative effects of envy and foster healthier relationships. Personally, I found that being aware of my negativity bias has helped me focus more on my personal issues that I need to overcome. A lot of my negativity towards others were my shortcomings that I had to fix in my life. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next episode. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you deal with envy and negativity? Share your experiences and tips in the comments below. And of course, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.